Howdy, howdy. Welcome to Office Hours FM, episode number 72. I am broadcasting from Texas today, all the way up to the Northwoods with my guest, Tanya. Tanya, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Carrie. Hi, everybody.
I'm excited to have you on. So today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, which is the lack of certification in the WordPress world, what that means for people trying to hire developers, what Tanya has got going on to help that out. Before we dive in, just wanted to say if you have questions for Tanya, you can send them via Twitter using hashtag OfficeFM. Or if you're watching over on Google+, you can use the Q&A app to get one of those in. And thank you for those of you who are tuning in and listening live. It's always nice to have live viewers. And I did want to thank our sponsors for this episode. I have got DreamPress 2. They are a managed WordPress hosting service brought to you by DreamHost. And I'm going to tell you more about them later. And then I've also got the WordPress Development Workflow webinar series. Boy, that's a mouthful, where myself and Mika Epstein will be teaching folks how to do a proper WordPress development workflow. And more on that later as well. So without further ado, here we are. So Tanya, what you sipping on over there?
I've got my hot water and lemon.
Cheers. I'm drinking
Cheers to you.
A little hot tea over here in an effort to make me less or my voice more buttery. I don't know that it's working though.
Sounds buttery to me. It's oozing all over my screen.
Wow. Well, I'm really sorry. I'll send you some monitor wipes after the show. I'll get an Amazon drone to deliver them.
Excellent. I can just see the package arriving now.
Oh, from the sky, no less.
Oh no.
Well, for folks that haven't gotten the chance to meet you, will you give a little rundown who you are, what you do?
Oh, sure. Hi, I'm Tanya. What do I do? Well, I started a club called WP Developers Club, and you can find us over there. I am a software engineer, an electrical engineer, quite a few other things, but I've been in software engineering for 30 years now. I first came to WordPress with my business. Oh gosh, I think it was back in 2005 as that we needed a business website, and I'd switched over from ASP. So I've been around a little while.
Wow. So you were literally then coming over to WordPress at its very beginning.
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I've done some classic ASP slinging in my day too. So if we want to nerd out about, you know what, I don't know if I could remember it if I've tried. I've been in PHP so long. But
do I have to remember?
You know what? I had one client. I built their site literally a decade ago in classic ASP, and I should have done it in probably .NET by that time, but I didn't. Too much learning curve and timeline and budget and all that stuff. So I went with classic ASP. Anyways, they had the same site. Like they never updated their site. They had me like do updates on the back end for them, but they never, wanted to rebuild. They're a nonprofit, so there's never the budget to rebuild.
Right. And
so every time I would have to go in and edit their site, I'd have to reorient myself with classic ASP and remoting into a SQL server, and it was bad news bears. Anyways.
Oh yeah, that's why I said let's don't go back there.
Yes, and then I did. Then I proceeded to go right back there. So
I say I used to do .NET things. That's how I made robots and stuff move. Nowadays, I don't do that. I moved away from that, and I'm just in the PHP world and obviously WordPress.
Did you find the transition? I mean, you're program for so long, is transition between languages difficult, or is it more once you have the kind of an understanding of how code operates, that it's just a matter of learning new syntax?
Right. It's the latter. Basically what you find is once you learn how to think like a software engineer and you've been exposed to so much code and so many different applications, you're able to walk into almost anything. And that's actually what my business was before I came into this was we had an engineering company, and people would hire us to come into their facilities, not know anything about them, and quickly be able to ascertain what some of the issues were. So you could look at any piece of code, any type of robotic system or inspection system, and be able to see, because you've seen enough of them and you know the principles, that you're able to move from this proprietary system to this type system and so on. So yeah, it's just learning syntax, and syntax itself, you've seen enough things out there too. There's enough of it that translates over, that you can quickly be able to go, okay, I'm looking at C and it does this, and I'm looking at C# and it does that, or PHP.
When you were talking about going in and being a diagnostician, essentially, I was thinking about, when you take your car to like an AutoZone or something, and they plug their little machine in and can read, tell you what's wrong, as that's like what you are, but on a very, very fancy and more intelligent level.
No, just a different level.
Okay, so here's my burning question before we get any further. Everywhere on the web, you are Hello Tanya.
Yep.
And your last name is, I tried to stalk you and failed. So beyond the Hello Tanya. So is the omission of your surname a purposeful thing, or for privacy, or can you share on that?
It's both. As I said, I was in the automation field for so long that when I decided to leave that field and closed up my company and did something else, that people were trying to still come and find me. So whenever I put my name out there, all of a sudden I get phone calls. Hey, I've got a problem with XYZ. Can you come into my facility? Well, I don't do that anymore. So it was a way of being able to say, okay, that was Tanya, the engineer who did those things. And now this is Hello Tanya, who does just WordPress. So the two worlds don't collide.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Well, Hello Tanya has a nice ring to it. It makes you sound friendly before anyone's even talked to you, because you're saying hello.
Well, that's me. As I was telling you privately, that that moniker came because I'm the kind of person that anywhere we go, I have to say hi to everybody. And I'm the gal who opens the door and waves at you and talks to you, whether you're in the grocery store or wherever. So I'm just a happy-go-lucky gal.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in and talk about the WordPress Developers Club. Can you talk a little bit about how that, first, what it is, and then how it came to fruition?
Oh, sure. Okay, so when the club itself is basically here to service and help developers, whatever skill level you're at. If you're coming in and you have no skills, you just want to learn WordPress development, all the way up to folks who have been in WordPress development for years and really want to know not only quality code, but how to excel to excellence in software development. When I first, I started a blog on my company so that I could, reach out and share information with my customers. That was back in the early days. We were not building WordPress sites for people. No, we were doing, automation work. But when I finally moved over into the community, what I saw was what a wonderful group of people. They're very open. They're very sharing. They support one another for the most part. But I kept seeing the same questions over and over again. How do I do this? What's that? And they seem very elementary to me in a lot of ways, that there were gaps in what people understood. And a lot of that comes, and I saw that even back in engineering. I brought in a lot of people into the apprenticeship program and would train them up. And there would be gaps from if they didn't get computer science training in the past, if they haven't seen a lot of different applications, they may not fully understand what scoping is, how data moves around, what the memory stack is in a process, and so on. So there's gaps in there. Maybe they don't even know OOP. So they're out there and they're searching so hard to find snippets. And how do I make, I've got a client, I've got to get this work done. Oh, crud, but I'm spending all my time searching for answers instead of just coding. So that disconnect struck me as, okay, well, I used to do that with my business. Part of my business was helping to train people up, and then I would embed them and put them into companies where they got hired. It made sense to translate that over into WordPress and see if folks were receptive to learning proper software development, not just putting sites together and so on, but the actual process and craft and discipline of software development.
That's awesome. I love that. There's one thing I do want to go back and touch on. You mentioned coming into WordPress that it was a very open community. People were willing to share and give information and generally be helpful. Is that different from what you've experienced in other like closed software systems or maybe even other open source projects?
Yeah, most of the work that I did previously was not open source. A lot of it was proprietary systems. Excuse me. So if you can imagine, if you headed over to the club and you landed on my Meet Tanya page, you'd see this system there. I put a picture up of a bunch of robots in an automated system. And what you would see when you walk into a facility is all this different equipment. You could have 100 different proprietary languages on there. So trying to get information about those was very difficult. People could be kind of snarky. They could be protective of, and this is just true in engineering, trying to look out for themselves and protect this is mine. So coming into an open source environment was very refreshing. It was nice to see the openness of people to share and help one another.
Cool. Well, and you clearly have a passion for that training aspect. I mean, you mentioned the apprenticeships in your previous roles. So how does one, and I mean, I'm asking you some questions I already know the answers to, wink, wink, but if someone wanted to, well, I guess let me ask this. So who is WP Developer Club for? And you mentioned, that person, I've heard them called, or the label of implementer. So someone who puts together sites, can maybe make a handful of basic customizations, but it's copy pasting code more than understanding why that code works. Is that the target audience, or someone who's never had any code experience?
No, it's much more broad-based than that, because I find even with folks who have been doing this for quite a long time, still have gaps unless they come from a computer science background. You could be in this business and you started out by, as a lot of folks do, you just start hacking the code. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And then it segues into freelancing or a job or something else. And then over the years, you're doing more and more things, but you still feel like you have gaps. I'm not quite understanding why I do these things. Maybe I'm not quite as efficient as I could be. Maybe I'm spending a lot of time, like I said, relying on other people's code and snippets, but then I don't quite understand what the side effect of those are. So maybe I have some quality issues that occur in my code. If I'm looking at my code and I see that one function has, more than 6 lines in it, then obviously I'm not quite understanding what refactoring is and single responsibility principles. So those are clues. If you're putting a lot of comments into things, that's another clue. I call it, some people so far have been receptive to this word. I call it cobbling, only from the premise of you're not quite there to the point of understanding what goes into quality code. So I'm very much into quality and excellence. So as I said, that can be a beginner all the way up to someone who's been in it, even 10 years or so. If you've got gaps in your learning and you really want to excel and understand the principles of what goes into quality code, then yeah, come on over, because that's what we do. And we're very hardcore into code.
And it's free to join, right?
Oh, the club's free to join. We have a weekly podcast where I teach you live 20, 30 minutes each Wednesday. There's code challenges that go with that. So there's plenty of learning opportunities there. We do have some premium things that are coming. For Dev School is one. the other one, and that's the certification stuff we'll get to. The other one is Dev Apprentice, where you're actually working with me and I'm mentoring you. So yeah, there's plenty of learning opportunities.
Love that. I actually just joined this week. I've been doing code for a very long time, but there are no doubt there are gaps in my knowledge base, and we've talked about this on the show before with other guests, but procedural programming I've got to really feel solid on, even though there's probably gaps there too. But that object-oriented is still, I need some puzzle pieces to click together on that one. So attend WP Developer Club School, people. Check that out.
Like I said, this is not for the faint of heart. We are very hardcore code. So if you want to know code and you really want to know it, come on over. If you just want to learn how to do something, that's not what we're about. We're about the why, the when, the what, the where, and the how. So,
well, this Jackie has a question that tied in. It's like Jackie is in there. Are you in my headphone, Jackie? I don't know. She's whispering in my ear. But she says, seems like many who code in WordPress are self-taught. How can you help formalize and standardize the approach? So how do you see, well, I'll just let her question stand.
Hi, Jackie. We yap a lot. Yeah, a lot of people are self-taught, and I'm going to say right up front, there's nothing wrong with that. I will declare right here and now, I'm non-degreed myself. So it's not about that I went through formalized computer science training and I have a big degree or master's in it. No, that's my brother. He has a PhD in computer science. Myself, I went into an apprentice program and learned the right way to think about code first, which to me is very important. It's the process of thinking. This is a thinking discipline. It's not just sitting down and typing things out. There's a lot of planning that goes into it and so on. So to get back to Jackie's question, how can I help formalize and standardize the approach? The first process that you need to do is understand your elementaries. And what I mean by elementaries for folks is those are the foundations. That's understanding computer science, how all the functions in PHP work, what's scoping, what's variables, even OOP, that even falls into elementaries as well. Looking at how things work together. Do you understand how the browser works with the server? A lot of folks don't, and I see that trip people up when they're not quite understanding how the assets get delivered, when you can do different things on the front end versus the server side. So to formalize, you need to go through education processes. Honestly, you need to learn the proven time-tested software principles, which is what we teach in quality code. I hope that answers your question, Jackie.
Well, I want to poke on that just a little bit more. So sure. In terms of, I mean, do you ever see actually offering, this is a two-parter question, do you ever see offering some sort of a certification, or you pass these levels and, you know, we deem you stamp of approval for WP Developers Club? And if you do, what would it take to have other people in the WordPress industry recognize that certification had any value?
You and I talked about that way back a long time ago, didn't we?
We did. I'm just bringing it out to the public.
She just tossed up the softball and lobbed it to me. Okay, so developer school, that is what developer school is. The dream that I have, come with me on this little progression of Tanya's dream.
Bring it.
Other software languages, other disciplines have certification processes to them. Even Zen, you can go into PHP if you're going to specialize in the Zen framework, and you can go and you can get certification that then is recognized and employers will hire you. It gives you that pedigree, if you will, that then gets attached to your name. Microsoft has them, Oracle has them, and so on down the pike. It's not just about going and getting a computer science degree or an electrical engineering degree. Yeah, that teaches you this much. Now you need to actually translate that into doing, which is what we do. We do a learn do process. So developer school is going to go in and teach you like you're going back to school, going back to college, and we're going to really dig in. But it does more than that, in that it's not just sitting there listening to me blather on about what code is, right? It's about learn do. So I give you a little bit of training like we do on the Wednesday show. That's a snippet of what you'd be exposed to, and then you're going to go do it. Okay, I teach you this, now go do it. Now, why did that happen? And there's that process. The dream is that I'm still working out. there is a process on other languages where you can go and you pay your money, and it's a proctored exam that you can take that then validates, yes, I went through the training, and then I went and took the test, and I passed the test, and now I'm certified. Okay, so great. You're certified from our school. Now what? That's that part I need to.
That's the $60,000.
That's the $60,000,
maybe $60 million question.
And I think as I get the opportunity to talk to more and more employers out there, which will take some time for folks, one, to get to know my face, hi, and for us to then communicate about what their needs are. From that, we can start to put together, how do we make the certification stick to where it has value to it, bringing in people in the industry who know, like Tom had joined up the club just a couple of weeks ago, yourself joined in, people who are known in the industry coming and joining into the club and participating will help to give some validity out there as well. So it'll take time for it to be recognized, but that's our goal.
You know, that just made me think of maybe an interesting angle of looking at what a specific job entails or job description entails,
yep,
and almost doing a personalized certification track. So maybe it's not a broader WordPress certification, but it's for this company and this, how they define this position. Here's the certification track that we require people to have gone through, or something like that.
Yeah, what I did initially was I broke it up by skill set. So I said, when you go through this program, whether it's a Genesis specific one or non-Genesis specific, is first you go through and you're an associate developer, then you go through and you're a developer, then you go through and you're a programmer. Now, those very broad based. I can see it developing itself into what you just talked about. And that's what I used to do with my engineering company. Was companies would come to me and say, okay, we know you know how to train people for X, Y, Z. We have specific needs for ourselves. And they'd have me go through and vet their people that they were considering by bringing them into an apprenticeship program. I trained them, then I embedded them in specific to that company. And then over 6 months or a year, they got to test each other out and decide if that was a good fit. So that's something I used to do, and I could see us morphing into that as well as time goes on.
Interesting. I love this discussion, because I think you've clearly identified a gap and a need, and have a passion and some plans unfolding for how to address that. Very cool. So Leonica brings up, she was asking about the cost of some of the premium add-ons, and that leads perfectly into what I want to know. And I asked you this quite a while back, but undoubtedly you are altruistic and in loving to help others in their learning journey for code. However, you got to pay the bills. What's the monetization plan for WP Developer Club?
Okay, well, it's going to depend upon the value that it gives to somebody. And we all know, if we're in the business of making money, it's not about how much time I put in or how long it took me to put this program together and so on. It's about the value that's given to somebody. So I have not gone through a model yet to price out each of the programs in Dev School yet to know what type of value it will be until I know how much content's going to be there. And we're not talking about you're going to go through this and it's 10 hours. No. It's like going to school, like I said. So, it could take you a year to get through. If you want to go all the way up to software engineer, it could take you a year and a half to get through the entire program. So what kind of value does that give to people? Now, if we look at, I did put a price on Dev Apprentice because we're rolling that out and taking applications now. Dev Apprentice has, right now, it's priced at an introductory price of $2,500. And that is, you're going to spend, it's pretty self-paced. You spend 10 hours minimum a week. You're going through a learning phase. You're actually building a website, a business-centric website, and then you're going to go and build your own business-centric website that you pick. And during that whole time, you're going through and I'm mentoring you, and we have office hours scheduled each week and so on. That process can take anywhere from 14 weeks on up to get through the entire process. So you can see I'm investing a lot of time into each individual. So that has a value to people, though, that I had to put on. And where I got that number from was, if I learned these skills and then I went out and I were able to, as a freelancer or get a job, and I built this same type of website, what could I charge in the marketplace? So could I pay this back in 1 or 2 projects? And that's how I valued it. Okay, yep, if I could learn these skills and I could really go off, and now I've got a template to start with, I know how Tanya thinks, and I can start to do it myself, how quick is my return on value?
I think you nailed it. That is a fantastic example of pricing based on value. And it made me think too of, let's see how to say this, the value of being able to go from, right now I'm freelancing, maybe I would like to get a gig at 10up or WP Engine, or any number of WordPress companies out there.
Right.
Getting some of the kind of core positions from those companies and saying that if you want to be able to apply for this position, here's the level of knowledge or training that you would need. Then you can place value on, okay, well, what's the salary? What's the salary on that? And if you're making, right. I'm not going to bore anybody with the math, but I think that would be a great way to, well, of course I think it's great because it's my idea. Oh my gosh.
Don't break your arm there.
Yeah, I don't even know why people tune in for me. I'm ridiculous. But yes, I think that would be cool. Okay, so to answer Leonica's specific question of the premium parts of the Developers Club, that is sounds like still TBD.
Yeah, you've got a value and a price placed on one program. The other programs aren't going to come out till next year. There's a lot of material I have to create. So sometime next year, we'll start rolling those out, and then we'll be able to put a value on them. And I'm hoping in that period of time, I'm also able to talk to some of the major employers out there and get a sense of what they're looking for. I mean, I've already been looking at their job descriptions, since that's just natural for me to go and do that. So it is very targeted for their specific, that we're going to hit each one of these points, but I still would like to know what their needs are. So if you guys are watching, contact me. I want to talk to you.
Absolutely.
I know our people want to talk to you too once they graduate. And so let me help you.
Well, and just remember that we're probably 6 degrees of separation here in the WordPress community, or maybe it's so small, maybe we're even 2 or 3 degrees of separation. So, yeah, I'm thinking if I know anybody, I'm happy to connect.
Yeah.
So Devinder has a question. He says, I know interest is one thing as far as the coding goes. Can you share about the journey of learning code and resources used during that time?
Sure. The journey of learning code. I like that. Let's put that somewhere.
I'm gonna put it on Twitter right now, or somebody else can beat me to it. Hashtag Office FM.
She's tagged it, guys. Yeah, your journey to learn code, it needs to start with a firm foundation. I like to give the analogy of trying to build a house. You really don't want to start building the second floor until first you have the foundation poured, whether that's a basement or a nice slab on the ground with its foundation firmly rooted, so that then you're building up from there. So starting with that foundation is absolutely critical. The process itself comes from the learn do. You need to learn the code and you need to do it. You need to see a lot of applications of code, which means reading a lot of people's code, and some of it's not going to be good, but that helps you to start sniffing out what some of those code smells are. And that process really helps to tune up what your skill set's going to be. And then you go and you see, oh, I don't quite understand what that's doing. You flag that and say, now I need to go and learn that. So it's a continuous process of one, being able to determine what is good code so that you know what you're looking at. And I see that disconnect a lot, unfortunately, with folks. They'll come to me and say, hey, I read this on XYZ, and immediately it's like, oh, but that's not right, and that's not right, and that's not right. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the process starts with first learning what the real proven software principles are, what computer science is, and then building up from there.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's see. Melanie says, awesome, Tanya. What a great way to approach pricing. I concur. Devender has trademarked Journey of Learning Code on Twitter.
Oh, darn. I was going to use that.
Leonica's question, is it possible that you teach someone who is living not a normal life? I'm not sure.
Are any of us normal?
I think none of us are normal. So
I'm not normal. Are you, Carrie?
I am most 100% not normal. Yeah. Leonic, if you want to rephrase that or get more specific, we'll be happy to talk about that. So Marjorie brings up, we're back to the monetization question, but are there any companies interested in sponsoring WP Developer Club?
We don't have sponsors as of yet. We're too new. So, companies need to see value for themselves before they're going to put any money into you and support you. However, when we first started, I did approach some of the people that I like and use and recommend. And some of those folks stepped up and they partnered with us. And by partnering, I mean they donated services and products to us to help support our mission. And those are listed on our website. But until we really get enough traction for people get to know who we are and who I am, and what we offer and what we're trying to do for the community, at some point those folks will come to us and say, hey, we do want to sponsor you and so on. And as long as they fit within the mission, we'll talk to them, but they've got to fit the mission of excellence and quality in software.
Absolutely. Speaking of sponsors.
What a segue.
Wow.
I lobbed it up for you. Go for it.
A total softball, but very much appreciative of DreamPress 2 for hosting today's show. So they have a WordPress managed hosting plan, which basically means you're not on a shared server with a bunch of people running different types of applications. You are on a server that is just WordPress being run. Now it's technically still a shared server, but it's optimized specifically for WordPress. They have 100% uptime guarantee. You get 30 gigabytes of SSD and storage, and you can get email addresses with that hosting account if you choose to mix your hosting and your email. You can check them out at dreamhost.com/office hours. They are also sponsoring my next sponsor, which is myself, WP Development Workflows. And that is a 3-part webinar series mentioned earlier, taught by myself hosted by myself and taught by Mika Epstein, aka Epstinu on Twitter. I'm so excited about this. We had a false start this week. So if anybody's tuning in that's part of the part of the webinars. Sorry for that. We were supposed to start Tuesday, and we've postponed until next Tuesday. But anyways, yeah, we'll be walking through how to use version control, how to incorporate Grunt into your workflow, how to keep your live site synced with your local site, and all that good stuff. If you'd like more information, you can head over to wpdevelopmentworkflow.com. And all right. And you know what? So I'll tell you a story about sponsorship. And I do agree with what you said about you want to have sponsors that are in alignment with with your mission. I've actually turned down a couple of sponsorship requests for this show because I didn't feel like it was something that I felt good about putting in front of my listeners.
Right.
But a lot of, really most of the people that have sponsored this show so far don't sponsor it because office hours is netting them this massive return on their investment yet. They sponsor it because they're supporting me and supporting what I'm doing in the community. So I would say, or maybe just encourage you that you don't necessarily have to wait until you have this amazing polished product that you can guarantee a ROI. People would want to support what you're doing. So you might look at some sponsorship levels even early on. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because I was actually going to start creating some verbiage on the site since we do have a program up and running now. And we are 8 shows into Know the Code show, which is the free Wednesday show. So if someone were interested in sponsoring that, I'd like to give them a vehicle to then be able to contact me and talk about those situations. It needs to be, and you're right, anything that you do, you want to make sure you're aligning yourself properly so that the message is centric. Yeah, if you bring in the sponsor that you yourself don't believe in, what's that say about you? So, yeah.
Well, and yeah, I've had, not to keep going down this particular trail, but I've had somebody email me and tell me that they basically go buy anything that I say, buy this, because they've always,
oh my goodness,
had, it's always been a good win.
That's
and
good.
I was like, oh my gosh, please. It made me feel like this tremendous pressure. I mean, I want to have transparency and integrity and everything that I'm bringing out anyways, but it just was this pressure. I'm like, oh my gosh, please vet these products for yourself. Don't, just because I say a lot of wrong things. I mean, ask my husband, I say wrong things every day. Anyhow, so yeah, important to be in alignment.
Yeah, boy, you, that's quite the burden to bear on your shoulders, isn't it?
It's like, oh yeah, that made me nervous. I said, please don't ever do that again. I mean, feel free to buy stuff, but not just because I said so.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, you got to think. We just got done talking about that. You got to think for yourself.
Yes. There's actually a passage of scripture. It's New Testament scripture, and it talks about Paul, who was a early whatever century pastor, preacher, basically said, I've said all this stuff to you, but don't take my word for it. Like, go do the, investigate, do the homework, figure it out for yourself.
Exactly.
I love that. Test things for yourself.
Exactly. And while I'm saying that, people see and they go, wow, she's got a lot of experience. Cool. Look where she came from. Awesome. First of all, I'm extremely approachable. So, don't put that out there and think that, oh my gosh, how am I going to talk to this person? And secondly, you need to think for yourself because, yeah, this is not the Tanya show. There's lots of folks that are getting on board, and eventually in time, as we elevate people, it's not just always going to be the Tanya show. It's going to be, hey, look, we're flooding the WordPress market ecosystem with people who understand quality and they're software engineers and so on. So that I would love when that day comes, but yeah.
Well, then Jan just asked the perfect, I love how all these questions just flow in together.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Tanya show, or that it won't always be the Tanya show, Jan says, you can't do the teaching alone. Are you going to involve well-known or otherwise people from the community or from a circle of people that you trust?
What a great question.
I've got fantastic listeners.
I know. I just love WordPress people. Oh, I tell you.
If I could push hearts on the screen right now, I would.
Yeah, me too. Just picture it in your mind. Go that place. Heck with robots. Those are boring. You guys are great. Initially it's me. It is. We do have some folks who on Slack we have a pros group that even Miss Carrie's a member of.
I'm surprised y'all let me in.
Oh,
Thanks.
come on. And I like running things past people so that it's not, again, just the Tanya show. It's something that is hitting home, and I'm taking the perspective of people out there in the industry. Eventually, mostly in dev school. Let me back up real fast. I just jumped to a thought. When you get into dev school, as you elevate up to the next certification level, you enter into a program where you're now giving back, and it's not just meant for giving back. It's meant to help cement your understanding of code, in that you will help in answering questions for people in the lower programs, kind of like a TA, or answering support questions.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because in order to teach something, you do have to have a different level of understanding than
Right.
you think you understand something, but then you try to teach somebody and you're like, I need to circle back around on this.
Right. Yeah. You can sit there in your little room like I am here in my walled of wood, and you can live in your own little world. But, it really, until you get out there and start talking and explaining a concept to somebody else, the lights and the bells really just don't go off until you do that. So having that rolled into the program to where you're actually translating your own knowledge and answering, because someone's going to give you a question that's in a totally different context and make you think about it. Yeah. Now, eventually in time, as people graduate the programs, I'm hoping that we get more and more folks who want to move into teaching, and we can roll them into the program. And yeah, it needs to live on past just me. That's my goal. Yeah. No,
Awesome.
I'm not a young lady anymore. So someday when I want to retire down the road, whether that's 50 years from now, it needs to move on.
Oh,
And
I think, even though you don't want it to be the Tanya show, I really think that Hello Tanya could be a great morning, like the 5 a.m. slot, like Hello with Tanya.
there you go.
Yeah, let's get up and go and do some code today.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Maybe I should change No the Code Show to Hello Tanya Show.
Melanie came back. Thank you. That reference was 2 Peter 1:12. Whoop, I didn't lie. It's actually there.
Beautiful. Thank you.
We have a question from Nicole. Excuse me. She asked, have you ever considered focusing your dev apprentice towards designers entering the world of PHP?
Wow, designers. Hi, designers. I work with a lot of designers, and man, you guys just blow me away with what you can do. Let me tell you. We do have some folks who are designers and want to learn code. And yes, when you come into something like a dev apprentice, let's just say, because that's out there right now, I'm going to try to group people. There's only 10 slots. I want to really focus on people. So there's only 10 slots open per class. Now, let's say we had a class every month or so that opened up. I want to try to group people in there. So if I had, say, 5 or 6 designers, wouldn't that be awesome to put you guys through so that you have that synergy amongst each other when you're in your study groups? And I can then target and focus and talk about specific coding that fits your context. So I think that kind of answers your question. Same thing with newbies that are out there that are coming in. I want to group newbies. If we have some folks that have been in the business a little while, group those folks together. So you're not just talking, you could talk at the same level.
Man, you have thought this through and thought it through well.
Well, like I said, I did it years. I've been doing it for a lot of years. So.
Well, it's a great concept, and I'm glad that you're the rubber's meeting the road in terms of getting it out there. How many members are there presently?
How come I knew you were going to ask me that and I didn't look it up? I'm
You can
not sure off
ballpark.
the top of my head. um, Last I looked, we have 350 some members. It might be more than that now.
Oh,
After my
excellent.
Genesis talk, it really shot up after that. Once people got to see who the heck is Tanya? I
Well,
know that name.
she's hello, Tanya.
Yeah, Tanya.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm circling back around. Leonica clarified on her question a little bit. She said if someone is ill, say they're living by strict rules and not having a job, but loves to learn all there is to learn about WordPress and Genesis. So maybe, for instance, in your apprenticeship, that something like those office hours would be difficult, or those sorts of things. Are there workarounds, or do you see it being something that's pretty accessible to anyone, wherever?
Within reason, it's pretty accessible. I'm going to, you'll see me up late at night and early in the morning. Office hours can't work. It's not going to work unless it can meet all the different needs of people. So that means that I need to schedule myself to be available at the different time zones around the world. And that's what we'll do, is office hours will be opened up for, there's 3 different time slots, and it will be run several times a week so that people can pick and choose. Okay, I want to come and talk in a group. If it's a group which is in the learning phase, you're in a group. So everyone in your class can come to a session. I may only have one person in it. I could have all 10 of you. Then when you get into the build phase, it's just you and me. That's it. So I work around your schedule and we figure it out. When do we need to get together? Yeah.
All right. Man, such great questions coming in today. Yale is asking, can you share more about the Genesis Developer Course 2016?
Well, everything I do is in Genesis. I'm a big fan. Yep. So it made sense when we started doing this that we put together something, and I talked to the Studio Press folks and I said, I'd really like to put together a program that is centric to Genesis. So if you want to specialize in Genesis, it made sense that, okay, first you're basically going to learn everything that's in the WordPress program. And then on top of that, you're also going to dive deep into Genesis and know that code like the back of your hand. Yeah. So yeah, at most everything I do, even Dev Apprentice, is all Genesis. So when you come in, that's a prereq that you have that framework. You've purchased the license, even if you've never worked with it, and I'm going to teach it to you. So
I like, though, that you're laying the foundation of WordPress first.
Correct. Yeah, you've got to understand core and WordPress to, Genesis is a framework that works on the presentational side for a theme, but without understanding WordPress core, it's not really going to help you.
Well, Jackie asked, what would you like to see changed in Genesis if you could change something? If you had commit permissions.
Oh boy. How's that one for throwing it up there?
Don't worry, nobody from Copyblogger is tuned in right now.
Yeah, right.
I have a red flag that alerts me.
Yeah, Gary and I have talked about this a little bit too. So are there some things I would do different? Sure there are. I come from a different perspective of how I would code things up. I like being able to pass in parameters through configuration so that that's where code changes and so on. So there are a few, for the most part, in my opinion, Genesis is very elegant. There are a few things that I would change, but I work with it because it is elegant and it's easy to extend and understand. So no, I'm not going to specifically answer, look in this one. I would tell you if you asked me about core.
Okay. Well, what would you change in core?
Oh my gosh. Now, see, I'm going to get this call now that says, did you just call us out?
I'm pretty sure Matt Mullenweg is not listening to this episode.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's not either. If he is, Matt, man, we need to talk. What we do every week in Know the Code Show is I have folks go and sniff out all the code smells that is in there. So you're learning what some of the code smells are. But if you were to flip through core, you would see lots of principles being broken and bent. For example, if I were to go to WP_query, that's one of my biggies, and I would look to see that, oh my gosh, that's how many lines of code? It's also inside of another file and not sitting out on its own. It's very wet. It's not dry. It's not single purposed. There's a lot of redundancy in it, and so on. So those types of things. Yeah, there are things I would change. And in time, we as a community will, because we're all going to, go and contribute back and help to improve our ecosystem. So in time, yeah, we all will help to elevate even core.
Oops, I was still muted. I was going to say, you could be a politician with these answers. Very nice. Very nice.
No,
okay.
no. I'm way too ethical for that. So,
yes. Okay. So Marjorie has a question. She says, do you consider a newbie as someone who knows HTML and CSS?
There's different levels. So a total knob is someone who knows nothing. You're coming in and you know nothing. And that's a different person, and you basically have to build that person from the ground up. Yeah, they don't know code at all. A beginner has multiple levels. Beginner can be anything from someone who just knows some HTML and CSS, maybe just a snippet of PHP, all the way up to someone who's still cobbling, but still hasn't moved into maybe understanding how to do custom databases, maybe some rewrites, understanding how rewrites work and those things. So the beginner level is pretty broad. Then you get in the intermediate level, and you do more advanced things. You know how to really extend WordPress, but still you may not fully understand. You still have those gaps in there. And a big chunk of folks fall into that. And then you get your advanced group, which a lot of those folks are software engineers who do other languages like Ruby, for one. Maybe they've been in C# or C or C++, so they do a lot of different things.
All right. Yeah, and I would just chime in too that if you already know some HTML and CSS, you're ahead of 99.9% of the rest of the world in terms of your developer skills. Let's see.
But do you really understand it? You know,
well,
I can spell it.
True.
Yeah.
Devinder asked, any major pain points while teaching code to others? Because a lot of people are tagging themselves experts without having that knowledge.
You know, there's going to be a resistance from some folks who have not come to the table to understand their true skill set. Absolutely. And in time, I hope that they can start to embrace maybe what some of their gaps really are. No, we're not going to reach everybody out there. Some folks are going to say, no, I'm already an expert. Who the heck does she think she is? Just because she knows robotics and other things. So what? Are there pain points of teaching people? Yeah, oh, absolutely. People are people, right? I'm sure you see this too, Carrie, you know?
Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, people have to come into it wanting or willing to hear that they've been doing something incorrectly or not in the best way.
Right.
So there's humility for certain.
There is humility, but at the same time, though, it's also taking a look at, if you're sitting there, like I said, and I try to reach you on a very personal level by saying, I bet you have some of these pain points yourself. And I have a whole list of them when you land on the Dev Apprentice page. How you're out there and you're Googling things. You're not doing unit tests. Oh, crud. My customer wants me to change this, but every time I touch it, it breaks. Son of a... Those types of pain points are real, and the majority of folks have them. And those come from when you have quality code smells, when you have issues with your code. So once you understand it, you know, I don't want to do that anymore. I really want to master this craft. I really want to excel and stand out. Some folks aren't going to want to do that. They're just happy being implementers. Maybe they've made a full career of it, and they're perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Not saying there is. I'm more targeting people who really want to excel.
Once again, either a politician or like Seinfeld, not that there's anything wrong with it. Well, a follow-up question from Jan talking about beginners and different levels of folks. But do you think that the beginners will be intimidated by the skills and some of the conversations happening, say in Slack, for instance, like by Gary and Elaine and Robin and these really superstar people?
I think they also will see that we have a huge amount of beginners in there that are asking questions of people, of Gary and Elaine and myself and Robin, and Carrie and Jesse and so on. You know, they're in there and they're asking these questions because they want to know, how do we do it? We have most people in there are at your level. Whatever level that can be, you're going to find a buddy sitting in there in the club right now, because our ecosystem has so many different levels. There are, and I really hate to say this because someone's going to call me out on it, but really, when you get to the level of software engineer, and if we looked at our ecosystem, I think that a lot of us are in the majority or minority of the ecosystem. So of course, people are going to want to know what we think, and they're going to ask those questions. Now, I will say, to answer a little bit better, I did pull our conversations off into a private group so that we could talk about higher level stuff, so that we're not intimidating people. And I'm hoping that conversations like we're having right now, me and Carrie and you guys, can see that you don't need to be intimidated. Any question is valid. If you don't understand something, that is very valid. That's what I'm here to do, is to help you understand it. So ask the question. It's okay. Don't be intimidated. I'm really not scary.
You're not scary. And I know that Gary is not scary.
Gary's not scary.
Carrie is not scary. Who else?
Yeah.
Mary is not scary. I don't know who Mary is, but it rhymes with scary.
Elaine is not scary. I mean, a lot of us are just not scary. We're nice people. We want to help you.
It's true. And the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask.
Oh my gosh. That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely true.
Man, we are, this hour has absolutely flown by. I've got one last question I'm going to ask you, and this is from Jackie. Do you offer code audits?
I get asked that a lot. I have done some code audits. I've done professional development and so on. I do not do that anymore. And able to better serve each of you and really be able to help this, I need to focus. So only thing I'm going to be doing after I get done with this one institute that I've got to finish, as soon as he's done and out of the way, the only thing I'm going to be doing is teaching, and that's it. So my total focus is the club. I'm not doing, you can't hire me for paid work on things. All I'm doing is teaching you guys, and that's it.
Kudos for being laser focused, because even though you could do it, you have chosen not to do that because it's not in alignment with where you're going. So,
well, and there's just not enough time in the day to do it right. There's not enough time in the day.
No doubt. I'm going to have you share one more thing in a moment, but until that moment, thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Absolutely great turnout, great questions from you guys. And if you want to catch the replay, or you didn't get to hear all of this episode, you can always go to officehours.fm, see all the replays, see transcripts of the episodes, and all that good stuff. Also, if you want to be reminded of episodes, because you don't want to have to remember to put it on your calendar, I don't want to have to put anything extra on my calendar, you can go to officehours.fm/subscribe. And once a week, I will send you a little loving email reminder. So Tanya,
you're very loving.
Oh, well, thank you. Except those times when I have to, send out a follow-up email because I'm like, crap, I got the wrong link. Sorry.
I do that too. So, yeah.
Nothing like
this week.
Hitting the push broadcast button, and then you're like, oh crap, I just left that out. Yeah. So what is the best way for people to find you, follow up with you?
Well, you've got multiple ways. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Hello from Tanya. You can hit me up at, just come on over to the club. If you're not sure you want to be a member yet, you just want to talk to me, there's a contact form there, and I will write you back. Yep, just me. I'll write you back. If you are a member and you want to chat, we have a private Stack group You can either join in any of the channels and talk there, or you can DM me privately and we can chat too. So I'm pretty accessible. I try to make myself accessible to people.
Awesome. Well, Tanya, I've enjoyed this immensely,
Me too.
and wishing you best of luck with the WP Developers Club. Maybe you can circle around in 6 months or so and see how things are going with you.
That sounds good. Have me on anytime you want.
Awesome. Well, until next week, everybody, have a fantastic rest of the week and then your weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.